Welcome to another episode of Drinking After Dark, a podcast where we discuss random topics while having a few drinks. I'm your host, Darius, and as always, drink responsibly. And y'all make sure y'all follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to Drinking After Dark podcast YouTube channel. Tonight, I'm drinking on Crown and Coke tonight. So keeping it simple and everything like that. First and foremost, I just want to say thoughts and prayers to all the victims in New Orleans. Uh, you know, praying for um, all of you down there. Also, too, man, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Um, 2024 is over. Now we're in 2025. So I know a lot of people probably have some New Year's resolutions and all that stuff going on. If you have it, stick to it. Um, Main thing is to continue to push forward, not to dwell in the past. 2024 is over with. So now just focus on 2025. All right. All right, y'all. So there's a topic that I want to get into. Um, more of a this is something that I saw on TikTok. All right. This is something I saw on TikTok and I had to really give my opinion on it. So on TikTok, I don't know if y'all seen it. There's this debate going on. Uh, who's the better performer, Michael Jackson or Beyonce? And you got a lot of people who are saying Beyonce is a better performer than Michael. Well, Beyonce passed up Michael Jackson, I should say, as the greatest performer ever, right? And first off, before we get to the performing part, let's just start off with some of um, some of the head to head, who's better at what. All right. So in terms of Uh, let's start off with vocals, right? Who has the better vocals? To me, is Beyonce, right? Um, Young Michael, we knew how great he was as a singer. He got older, you could tell vocally, you know, really wasn't there. Uh, Music, the catalog, right? Would you rather have Michael Jackson's catalog? Would you rather have Beyonce's catalog? I think this is a no-brainer. You'd rather have Michael Jackson's catalog, okay? Um, Popularity. Now, this is where I think the performing aspect comes into the popularity because yes, Beyonce has the Beehive. Her fans they think the world of her. They can't really They don't want to criticize her. They just believe everything's so perfect. Um, Here's the thing about Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was the most famous person on the planet. Nobody was more famous than Michael Jackson. It's at a point that Michael Jackson was a prisoner of his own fame, right? Everywhere he went. And when I say everywhere, I literally mean everywhere he went. It was just pandemonium, right? Straight up pandemonium. Even to this day, right? You don't have people impersonating Beyonce. You got people. There's really two people that people impersonate the most, right? You have Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson. But Michael Jackson impersonators are worldwide, right? Elvis Presley impersonators, pretty much, you know, this country, you don't really hear about other countries like that. Not to the extent of Michael Jackson, right? You're talking about third world countries. You have Michael Jackson impersonators still to this day, right? When you think about music videos, obviously it's Michael Jackson. Uh, and we're not gonna talk about uh the groups, right? Jackson 5 versus Destiny's Child. We're not gonna talk about that. I feel like um both R&B groups, but I never compare, because they were basically um can you say I guess you could say they're the original boy band, right? Destiny's Child, um, great group. To me, you know, I don't think a lot of people have Destiny's Child at the top in terms of female R&B groups. Because I think they look at it from like when you think about the '90s, because they came in at the '90s. There's a lot of groups you could put before them. Obviously, first group come to mind is TLC. All right, now let's get to the performing aspect. Now, performing is their live performances. Okay, live performances. No one ever, and this is why he holds the title. There's two titles he holds: King of Pop and the greatest entertainer ever. Nobody is a greater entertainer than Michael Jackson, in my opinion. Now, here's the thing about Beyonce. Beyonce could put on a show. From the clips I've seen, she could put on a show. The thing about Beyonce is this: Beyonce has to have so many people on stage with her to put on a great show. Michael Jackson, even though he has backup dancers, he don't have as many backup dancers as say Beyonce has, right? But Michael Jackson himself can command the stage like no other, right? When like I'll give you a prime example. When Beyonce is doing her show, what is the one signature song that you have to hear that night? All the Beyonce fans, y'all tell me, what is the one signature song that you have to hear? With Michael Jackson, there's basically one song that he does by himself on stage, one spotlight, people go crazy of, right? We all know Billie Jean when he performs that on stage by himself, no other dancers, nobody on stage with him. That's what Billie Jean, people go crazy. All right. And here's another thing too. You don't see how you don't see people falling over for Beyonce. You don't see that, right? You see people lose their mind when they see Michael Jackson. Period. You see people passing out. Michael Jackson, here's the thing. When you talk about the tours in 2024, right? You had Taylor Swift's tour, you had Beyonce's tour. I mean, listen, it was like a head-to-head thing between these two, right? Great to see. Great to see some type of rivalry going on in music today. Wonderful. Yes, these women sold out football stadiums. Michael Jackson sold out countries. Let's just call it what it is. He sold out countries, right? It didn't matter what Michael was doing on that stage. He'd come out on that stage and he's staring, he just sitting there on stage. 5 minutes, people still screaming, losing their mind. Because you got to think the aura of Michael Jackson, to see Michael Jackson in person. He ain't got to do nothing. It's just the fact that when people say, I went to go see Michael Jackson in person, it's like, it's kind of like their life has been complete in a sense, right? So now Beyonce is a great performer. She is a great performer, right? Uh, she does put on the show. She listen, she's one of the few artists that go out there and give it 110%. There's no debating it, right? There's no debating it. But when you talking about Michael Jackson, I don't think it's even close. And here's the thing: when people talk about who's the better performer between Beyonce and Michael Jackson, I would ask them this too. And we got to be real. We're not talking about the music. We're not talking about them personal. We're talking about live performances, right? There's other artists out there who are better live performers than Beyonce. Chris Brown is one, right? You just got people who are just better performers live, right? Um, who's another one? Now here's a guy. I'll put it to you this way. Nobody wants to talk about this. I know y'all probably gonna be in the comments saying this stuff, whatever, but I don't care. Now this guy had a whole bunch of people on stage, but you cannot tell me he did not bring the energy every time he was on that stage. And that was MC Hammer. I don't think she's a better performer than MC Hammer, honestly. So if I don't think she's a better performer than Chris Brown, MC Hammer, uh, you got Sierra out there. I think Janet Jackson's a better performer. Now, again, we're not talking um vocally, we're not talking about the songs and everything. We're just talking about live performance. Okay. That's what we're talking about. I know everybody want to bring up numbers and all that stuff in terms of record sales and how many awards and all that stuff. No, we're just talking strictly uh live performance, okay? Because we already know Michael, you're in terms of sales, you're not catching Michael Jackson. One album alone did, y'all know. Um, but even though people like to bring this up, it's almost like here's the thing. I think there's a if you gotta go tiers, right? I believe Michael Jackson is in a tier all by himself. In terms of live performance, that's why he's considered the greatest entertainer ever. Um, the king of pop. You know, you got there was countries that changed their tax laws just for him to come. So I just feel like this particular debate, you know, people like to start debates just to get an uproar, because they're more of a fan of one, and they probably never saw Michael Jackson either. So you always will have an older generation because they witnessed the Michael Jackson era, and you have a younger generation who really never got to see Michael, right? Never understood the uh the aura of Michael Jackson. They never really understood why everywhere he went, people just went crazy, right? Not saying they don't go crazy for Beyonce, right? Not saying that. I'm not saying that they don't go crazy for Beyonce. They do. I mean, she got her fans that, but when we're talking now, you also got to factor this in too. You got to factor in the international fans. Now she does have international fans, right? A lot of artists do. A lot of artists have international fans, but it's not to the point where people would just all over the world will just soon as see Michael Jackson, they just go ballistic, right? And that's how it is on that stage. You know, when Michael Jackson's on that stage, I always put it this way. Yes, Beyonce, she has the dancers, choreography is good and everything. Put on a great show, not denying that. But Michael Jackson, here's the thing. Can Beyonce go on stage herself, by herself, no one else, and basically just perform? We're talking singing and dancing by herself. By herself. That's how you know who's a great performer in that, right? Who's a better performer? Michael Jackson can command the stage by himself. To me, Beyonce, not to that level. When you have Beyonce who's on that stage by herself and she's commanding that stage by herself, and basically, people are falling over her and we're talking about singing and dancing. We ain't talking about just singing. When she go to the crowd, she get a little close to them and putting the mic to their face, all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about straight up, here's the thing. Michael could just dance and people will go crazy. Think about how crazy, think about how that sounds, right? If Beyonce was just to dance, it's not gonna have the same impact. Michael could just dance, right, for half a song by himself, or even a full song. We have seen Michael by himself on the stage, just dance, go crazy. So I just feel like, to me, uh, again, we're not talking about who's the better artist. Um, that's another debate if y'all want to have that. Uh, so that's one thing. But by the end of the day, in terms of live performance, I'm I'm always going to choose Michael Jackson. I don't think there's anybody that's going to come close to Michael in terms of live performance, right? Because he's the standard. That's where you try to reach to. And I think, you know what, I compare it to you as this. In the NBA, uh there's some records that's going to be broken, right? Like LeBron James broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record, right? Most points in NBA history. But there's also certain records that we can believe probably won't be broken. And I think if you're a basketball fan like me, you look at the steals record and the assist record, both held by John Stockton. Um, those records, I believe, probably would never be broken. That's safe to say, right? Uh, so for me, so for me, that's the way I look at in terms of Michael Jackson's live performance. As a live performer, he's up there to where that's what you try to reach to, but you never will. To me, I don't think you will ever surpass that, right? And again, you got a lot of younger generation who was born, you know, and you got some who were born like in the 90s and 80s that believe Beyonce surpassed Michael. You could believe all you want to. We know that's not the facts, right? That's not the facts. We There's no one who comes closer to Michael Jackson, period. Until Beyonce could sell out a whole country, ain't no way. I mean, you got these paramedics and everybody dragging fans out, taking them to the hospital, passing out all over this guy. I don't see people passing out over Beyonce at her show. So, my opinion, Michael Jackson is the better performer. And again, really has again, Beyonce is a great performer, a great performer. You could be great, but there's tiers to greatness. Michael Jackson is tier one. Nobody on his level in terms of live performance. And yet, I mean, don't get me wrong, you gonna have the younger generation, no, they're gonna say, you know, oh, Beyonce is the greatest, because they go by what they see, as they should be. Just like with sports, right? People believe LeBron James is the greatest because they never saw Michael play, so um that is how it is, right? That is how it is. But I believe with um I believe with every generation they're gonna have who they believe is the GOAT. But one thing you can't deny, especially now with YouTube, you could go back and watch a Michael Jackson concert, right? Go back and watch his live performances, whether it's the Super Bowl, right? You look at the Super Bowl, you look at the VMAs, you look at uh his even his concerts, right? You go back look at his concerts, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, he's a better live performer than this. I put if y'all remember I think it was the VMAs, early 90s. Was that song Remember the Time came out, and what people don't know, I think he sprayed his ankle right before the performance. This man did his whole performance from the chair. From the chair. Think about that. He did it from the chair. Anybody else who sprained their ankle, they're probably now you got some people who are like they kind of have that athletic mindset, like, hey, I'm gonna go out there as long as I can walk, I'm gonna play. As long as I can walk, I'm gonna perform, right? And I think that just the mindset of a lot of you know uh, entertainers today, right? That man did a whole performance from the chair, and it was still a great performance. So to me, Michael Jackson, no doubt, the greatest entertainer that ever lived. Now, we're not saying he's the greatest singer. We know as he got older, we could tell, in terms of, vocals, any Michael Jackson fan would take the young Michael in terms of vocals versus, the older Michael. But other than that, to me, number one, all time, not even a close. I don't think it's ever gonna get close unless somebody comes in and just, you know, really seriously challenge his that spot. But it's Michael Jackson. I think the only person that could come close to it is Chris Brown. Um, Again, Janet Jackson. You look at her shows, a better performer. Go back then, like her Janet Jackson shows, y'all know what I'm talking about. Even MC Hammer shows, y'all seen his performances live. So no, there's some other artists to me I could put him before Beyonce, but Beyonce is a great, great performer, and she does put on the show. She does 110%. She goes at it. She's gonna give the fans um an experience. So you you can't deny that. I mean, Beyonce is going to put on a great show. All right, she's going to put on a great show. She's going to be involved every step of the way of the show. Um, and that's what you like to see. You like to see artists put on a great show. All right. But in terms of this generation, um, to me, this era, I still believe Chris Brown is the top live performer out there, but Beyonce's up there too. All right. All right, y'all. Before we get out of here, once again, thoughts and prayers the to the victims in New Orleans. Um, and it's really sad that, when people want to, go out to whatever city, right? It doesn't have to be a big city. It could be a small city, whatever, in your hometown, whatever. You go out, you just want to have a great time, bring in the new year because, you know, to make it through the year and to celebrate the beginning of a new year, it's tradition in a sense, right? And then we have incidents like this happening, right? What happened in New Orleans? Um, Obviously, you got certain news outlets that jumped the gun without really doing their research. First, as obvious, they look at the guy and automatically assume, not understanding he was born and raised in Texas and uh, served in the military for 10 years to do this. And we saw little clips, right? Um, about it. Here's the thing, man. Whatever you going through or whatever, don't take it out on other people. They don't deserve that. They didn't do nothing to you, right? So for me, uh, prayers to the victims, man. Please, man, 2025, be safe. Uh, you just got this strange feeling about it. The way it's starting off, now you got this little strange feeling. I know I got it. I believe some of you got it as well. All right. But most of all, man, please stay safe during this year. Um, Man, it was just a bad way to start 2025, man. When you hear news like that, definitely when you hear news like that. So, all right, y'all, man. Thanks for tuning in with me tonight. Once again, make sure you follow Drain After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to Drain After Dark podcast YouTube channel. Also, you can listen to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please do so. Um, Tell your friends and family about it. All right, tell your friends and family about the podcast because I'm going strong for you guys. All right. Until next time, I'm Darius and I'm out. Peace.